Simply because the alien didn't look human, the old lady lifted its arms up and put a jacket on it. That made it look a lot more natural. Little did she know that one small act of kindness would end up saving her life. One day, a burglar broke into her home, and she walked right in on him. To avoid getting caught, he decided to silence her for good. But the alien miles away sensed it instantly. Its head turned blue in a flash. The burglar had no idea his life was about to end. Seconds later, the blue light faded. When police arrived at the old lady's home, all they found was the burglar's body. The cause of death: his head had spontaneously exploded. When the police questioned her, Annie insisted she had no idea what happened. She was just as shocked as anyone. The police knew no human could have done this. Both sides fell silent, lost in thought. Then something clicked in Annie's mind. She jumped in her car and drove straight to her friend's house. The alien was in the backyard, fixing the spaceship. Without a word, she ran over and hugged it, thanking it for saving her life. Only it could have done something like that. All three of them were glad they'd taken the alien in. A few nights earlier, a thunderous crash had jolted the old man out of his sleep. Something had fallen from the sky. He rushed outside to look, and found a spaceship sitting right there in his backyard. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. He called the police immediately. But when the dispatcher heard the words spaceship and realized the caller was elderly, they assumed he had dementia and had accidentally dialed the wrong number. Instead of his daughters, they hung up without a second thought. Nothing he could do. The old man had no choice but to let it go for now. But the next night, when he went back to check, an alien had crawled out of it. It wasn't in good shape. Lying on the ground, completely still. He was startled. He hurried back inside and called the police again, telling them there was now also an alien. But this time the officer warned him, if he kept making up nonsense and wasting emergency services, he'd be arrested. Still uneasy, the old man brought it up at that day's neighborhood committee meeting. He told everyone about the spaceship and the alien. The room went quiet. No one believed a word he said. It was too absurd. Even his close friend Auntie May scolded him for rambling nonsense at such an important meeting. When he got home, though, the alien had crawled to his doorstep and recovered a little. It looked up at him, helpless. The old man couldn't bear it. He went inside and poured it a glass of water, then brought out a blanket. Too nervous to bring it indoors, he settled it in the yard for the night. The next morning when he woke up, the alien was crouching at his door wrapped in the blanket, looking like a lost homeless child. The old man's heart ached. He invited it inside to warm up. It didn't seem to understand English, so he gestured for it to come in. The alien tucked that gesture away in its memory, and would one day use it to invite the old man to visit its homeworld. He brought it a glass of water. The alien carefully took it and tasted it. He figured it must be hungry. Not knowing what it liked to eat, he laid out several different foods in front of it. It turned out the alien loved apples. He rushed to the supermarket and bought a whole crate. The cashier was puzzled. What did he need all these apples for? For the alien back in my house. You mean a legal alien? No, like an alien from outer space. Hearing that, the cashier decided this old man was seriously unwell. But the old man didn't care. When he got home, the TV was broadcasting a news report. Several days ago, satellites had captured footage of a mysterious aircraft landing on Earth. Anyone with information was urged to contact police immediately. Just then, the alien silently appeared behind him. He jumped, startled. The alien flinched too, seeing it had mostly recovered. The old man began showing it around the house, introducing each piece of furniture one by one. This is the tap. Come here when you're thirsty. This is the toilet. It's for when you need to go. Then he led it to the study, explaining it could sleep there if it got tired. The alien trailed quietly behind him the whole time. Though they shared no language, it seemed to understand. Once the tour was done, the two sat in the living room and watched TV together. The old man showed it how to use the remote. He also introduced his family. He had a daughter and a son. His son lived far away and hadn't come back in 10 years. There was some conflict between them, so they rarely spoke. He said it didn't bother him, but the loneliness was plain to see. So was how much he missed him. His daughter was too busy with work to visit often. Most days the TV was his only company. The alien sat and listened in silence. At least he had a few good friends, who would drop by to chat now and then. Speak of the devil. Right at that moment, Annie showed up unannounced. When she saw the alien sitting on the couch eating an apple, she froze in sheer terror. What the fuck is that? You remember the spaceship that crashed in my yard? This is the little man who came out of it, sitting on my couch. Yeah, he's very friendly. He watches whatever I watch. He's adapting. Annie finally understood. He hadn't been lying. Everything he said at the meeting had been true. Still, she could barely believe it. Weren't these things only supposed to exist on TV? Even so, she worked up the courage to sit down beside the alien. And the moment she actually made contact, fear quickly gave way to wonder. She never imagined she'd get to meet a real alien in her lifetime. Then the old man took her out to see the spaceship. When you arrived, it wasn't doing very well. He was really banged up from the crash landing. But he'd been eating apples ever since then. I guess that helped him. Yeah. Annie couldn't get over it. The alien actually liked apples. Then another thought hit her. She urgently warned the old man, under no circumstances should he tell anyone, not even the police, about the alien. They'd almost certainly take it and run experiments on it. But would things really go as they hoped? The space agency had picked up the alien ship's signal days ago. The crash had knocked out its signal. But now they were searching hard. If they found it, no one could say whether that would be good or bad for the alien. One morning, the alien drew a picture of a cat and gave it to the old man. He had no idea what it meant, and assumed it was just a gift. Soon after, the alien began trying to repair the spaceship. That same day, a cashier ran into the old man's daughter at work, and told her all about the alien. The woman was floored. She thought her father's condition was getting worse. He was now conjuring up aliens. Genuinely worried something was wrong, she rushed straight home. She insisted on taking him to see a mental health professional. He refused, flat out. He was perfectly fine. The two were at a standstill. Fortunately, her work kept her too busy that day to press any further. The old man had actually hoped to introduce her to Blue. The next day, Auntie May came over to borrow the printer. But the moment she walked in, she nearly jumped out of her skin. Oh my god. What the fuck is that? She hadn't believed the old man's story either, and now it was already Blue's third day there. Once the shock wore off, Auntie May felt strongly. This was something extraordinary. It was more than the old man could handle alone. But her curiosity quickly shifted to the spaceship in the yard. Her reaction mirrored exactly how the old man had looked when he first found it. Most of the components were damaged, though, and repairs would take some time. The old man filled Auntie May in on Blue's situation. When it had crashed, Blue had been badly hurt, but after eating a large number of apples, it had fully recovered. Good friend that she was, Auntie May immediately reminded him. Now that they were keeping Blue, they had to keep this a secret. For their own sake, and for Blue's. One morning, the old man woke up on the couch and found a drawing on the table. It was a small rabbit. By that point, Blue had already started working on the ship repairs. The old man thanked Blue for the drawing and praised the artistic talent behind it. He had no idea it was actually a message. At his daughter's insistence, the old man was dragged to a psychiatric clinic. What made it even more ridiculous? The evaluator showed him a series of simple pictures. Questions a 3-year-old could answer. It was insulting. He might be getting on in years, but he wasn't that far gone. Then the psychiatrist started asking thoroughly absurd questions. The old man slammed the door on his way out. He was nothing like the helpless figure his daughter imagined. Her idea of helping was just another burden. Back home, he vented to Blue. His own daughter wanted to put him away. His son had long stopped calling. Putting it all together, he felt like he'd never been much of a father. Blue just sat there and watched him quietly. Its silence was its way of caring, missing his son too much to stay quiet. The old man called and left a voicemail, sharing everything that had happened these past few days. The message went unanswered. That is the quiet reality for so many parents left behind in their old age. The spirited Auntie May decided to give Blue a little makeover, dressing it in a black button-up shirt. Surprisingly, it looked pretty sharp. Blue was slowly settling into human life. Then one day, Joey caught a news segment about a spaceship that had landed nearby. Connecting that to what the old man had once said, she made her way over to his house out of curiosity and walked in on the two of them having dinner with Blue. The doorbell rang soon after. The secret was out. Luckily, Joey was also a lonely old soul, and the whole thing fascinated her completely. It was the most exciting thing to walk into their quiet, aging lives. Joey swore she'd keep the secret and wouldn't breathe a word to anyone. At that moment, Blue produced another drawing. This time it showed 7 cats. The 3 elders put their heads together. Blue was surely trying to tell them something. 3 heads are better than 1, as they say. They quickly landed on a conclusion. Blue must want 7 cats. The next morning, they found a dead cat at the front door. Reading Blue's expression, it seemed to have picked it up off the street. Blue then handed over another drawing. That's his spaceship. I think he needs 6 more cats to get his ship working. It all clicked for the 3 of them at once. They set off through the streets hunting for dead cats. But such strange behavior quickly caught the attention of 2 police officers. Seems like they're looking for something. But the old man hadn't noticed. He was being followed. He went about collecting cat bodies with complete dedication. The 2 officers watched, utterly baffled, convinced they'd stumbled upon a pair of very disturbed old men. They soon showed up at the door. Fortunately, Blue had slipped away in time, and the officers found nothing suspicious. Soon enough, all 7 cat bodies had been gathered. Blue slowly draped a silver cloth over them, and softly began to chant. Something extraordinary happened. Beneath the cloth, movement began. The mass shifting into an oval shape, it fused into a single red crystal. This was the spaceship's power core. The ship finally had power again. Slowly, it began to rise. At the same time, the space agency detected an anomaly. They immediately dispatched nearby officers to investigate the unidentified craft. The spaceship's hatch had already begun to open. The old folks said their goodbyes to Blue, and gave it a few keepsakes. The old man couldn't bear to part with it. He handed Blue a photograph. But then Blue invited all of them to come aboard. They exchanged confused looks. But Blue seemed completely sincere. I think he invited us. The old man looked at Blue through tear-filled eyes, and was the first to say he'd go. I'd like to go with you. Just then, the phone rang. His daughter, who he so rarely heard from, was calling to check on him. She asked if he was doing all right. He smiled and told her everything was fine. I love you. You too. But the moment he hung up, police appeared at the front door. The old man bolted to the backyard, waving the 2 old ladies onto the ship. By the time the officers broke through the door, all 3 had already blasted off into the stars.